You're lying next to someone you've loved for 40 years, and somehow you feel miles apart. Not wrong, just different. The warmth is still there, but the rhythm has changed, and neither of you knows how to talk about it. That silence, it's heavier than you think. I'm Dr. Mia Carter, and you're watching True Wellness Network. Today, we're talking about something most couples experience but few understand: why physical closeness shifts after 60 and what it really means for your relationship. Let me start by saying this. If intimacy feels different now than it did 20 years ago, you're not broken. Your marriage isn't failing. You're human. And this transition is one of the most natural things that happens in long-term love. But here's where it gets tricky. Most couples don't prepare for this shift. They expect desire to stay constant, like some eternal flame that never flickers. So when it does change, when spontaneity becomes planning, when touch becomes tentative, they panic. They interpret the change as loss instead of evolution. And that interpretation, that's what causes the real distance. Because what's actually happening is this. Your bodies are changing, yes. Hormones shift. Energy levels fluctuate. Physical sensations aren't what they once were. But underneath all of that, there's something deeper at play. After 60, intimacy starts asking a different question. It's no longer how often, it's how connected do we actually feel? And that question terrifies people because it requires vulnerability in a way that physical closeness used to mask. It demands emotional presence. It asks you to show up not just with your body, but with your heart, fully, honestly, without the distractions that used to fill the space between you. This is the part most people don't see coming. For decades, physical intimacy could carry a relationship through rough patches. It was a language you both spoke fluently, even when words failed. But now, that language is changing. And if you don't learn to translate what your bodies are really saying, you'll mistake silence for rejection. If this resonates with you, share your thoughts in the comments. You're not alone in this. So, what's the shift really about? It's about redefining closeness. After 60, your relationship is asking you to slow down, to notice, to be present in ways you might have rushed past before. The urgency fades, and in its place comes an invitation to discover intimacy that's less about performance and more about presence. But most couples resist this. They mourn what was instead of exploring what could be. In my years working with couples, I've noticed something consistent. The ones who thrive after 60 are the ones who get curious instead of critical. They don't ask, "What's wrong with us?" They ask, "What are we learning about each other now?" That curiosity changes everything, because suddenly, a quiet morning in bed becomes intimate. Holding hands while watching the sunset becomes profound. A long conversation over coffee becomes connection. Physical closeness doesn't disappear, it expands into something richer, softer, more layered. Let me share a quick example. I worked with a couple, married 42 years. They came to me frustrated, feeling like strangers. He felt rejected. She felt pressured. The old patterns weren't working, and neither knew why. We didn't focus on what they'd lost. We focused on what they'd never explored. Emotional attunement, learning to communicate desire without demand, rediscovering touch that wasn't goal-oriented, just connective. Within weeks, they told me something beautiful. We feel closer now than we did at 30. Not because they'd gone back to who they were, because they'd become who they are now, together. Here's what I want you to understand. Physical closeness after 60 isn't about reclaiming your 20s. It's about honoring your present. It's about building a new kind of intimacy that fits the people you've become. Wiser, slower, more intentional. And yes, that requires conversation, real conversation. The kind where you admit what you're feeling without shame, where you listen without defending, where you explore together instead of assuming you already know. Because the truth is, you're still discovering each other. You always will be. The couples who struggle the most are the ones who stop talking. They let assumptions fill the silence. They interpret every hesitation as disinterest, every change as failure. And slowly, without meaning to, they drift. But you don't have to. You can choose curiosity. You can choose presence. You can choose to see this shift not as an ending, but as an invitation into something deeper. A love that doesn't rely on what your bodies can do, but on who you are when you're truly seen. That's the gift of this season, if you're willing to receive it. So tonight, try something small. Ask your partner how they're feeling. Not about chores or schedules, but about closeness, about connection. Listen without fixing. Just be there. You might be surprised what opens up. If this was helpful, I'd love for you to hit the like button. And if you want more honest conversations about love, aging, and connection, subscribe to True Wellness Network with Dr. Mia Carter. Before you leave, I recommend watching the video on rebuilding emotional intimacy. It connects directly to what we talked about today. Thank you for being here. Keep loving well.